Tudo bem? Drink tea. Gotta.
Şu memurlar iyi değil. Şu memurlar iyi değil. Şu memurlar iyi değil.
Memurlar. İyi.
Şu memurlar iyi değil. Şu memurlar iyi
Değil.
değil.
Not have. Not be. Şu memurlar. Civil servants. How's it? Memur. Let's look this up. İyi. Good. And then verb final. Değil, which is a negative verb, not to be. Memur. So my money is on it being in Arabic now. Money meaning $0. But that's what I'm betting on. Not betting, that's what I'm at best case. Okay, and ma'mur with a hamza in that first syllable. So not a long ma'mur. So with glossed up mr as the root, I think. Civil servant, incumbent. Let's jot this down. Civil servant. And got the verbal root right here. So the first letter, meme, and then alif, but it doesn't mean the usual long a sound here. That's what the hamza on top is telling us. You can probably see it. Let me just zoom in a little more here. Ma'mur, and the onset of the root is after the a, I think. So glottal mr. Emera is the citation form. Meme, yeah, and then wow and ra rather. Officer, bailiff. What on earth is a bailiff? Subject. Magistrate. Let's do some Arabic next. What do you say? Okay, let's get in touch. Tudo bem. Arabic next. Good. Glad to know that it's working. Yeah. My device, not so much, alas. Okay. Civil servants are not good. Değil with a softened G. I'm just going to restart this thing. Şu memurlar. So şu can be a pronoun on its own, but here it's a determiner.
Avukatlar çok çay içer.
Çok. They drink very tea.
Çok.
Okay. Avukatlar çok çay içer.
Ben memurum.
Memurum. Ben memurum. This is the verb ending on the noun. Ben memurum.
Evet, aşçılar çorba içer.
Memur, right? Ben memurum. Ben, our subject. Memur is a noun, but the im makes clear that it's verbal. So think of how the Korean copula, ida, is written, just right onto the noun or whatever it's with. Evet is no. Aşçılar çorba içer. Çorba, I think, wine. Aşçı, cooks.
Aşçılar. Çorba.
Soup, çorba. Evet,
Evet.
aşçılar çorba içer. Oh, gotta click. Evet,
Çorba.
evet, evet, aşçılar çorba içer.
Şu kadın profesyonel bir oyuncu.
Şu kadın profesyonel bir oyuncu. That woman is a professional. Şu kadın profesyonel bir oyuncu.
Oyuncu.
Actress is a professional actress. Şu kadın profesyonel bir oyuncu.
Yargıcın kedisi var ama avukatın yok.
Yargıcın, judges. Possessive. Kedisi, cat. Var, he has one. He, she. Ama avukatın yok, does not have. The judge has a cat, first clause. Haha, cat's clause. Judge has a cat, but the lawyer does not. Not that the judge doesn't have a lawyer. That would be avukatı, accusative, I presume. But not the lawyer having a cat. It's interesting how we abbreviate that in English. But not the lawyer. But the lawyer doesn't would also work. Have a cat would be understood. So the not has just shifted higher up the chain. Tudo is B.
Kaptan ve bekçi çay içer.
Kaptan ve bekçi, the captain of the guard. Cap and the guard. Çay içer, drink tea. So when there's no accusative on the noun, it's indefinite, just in general, that they drink the beverage. Çayı would mean a specific instance of drinking it. Çayı with the accusative ending. 81. Boom, boom, boom, boom. So, welcome back to Language Institute. Your VerbAlly. Starting out with some Turkish this evening. We teach at Lango. We can hook you up with teachers in English, Korean, Spanish, Chinese, French, Japanese, German, Portuguese, Italian. This is our autobiographical order here at Lango. The one in which we came to the school. So, family 1 sounds lovely.
Tub.
Plain unmarked T, not the emphatic tube.
Tub.
Oh, we should contrast. Thob. This is the emphatic T. It's a sort of lowercase b shape. Long Tab would be this one with the plain T. Thob.
Tub.
So the aw instead of conveys a lot of important information. It's an easier difference for an English ear to hear than t, I think. Just the consonant on its own. It goes by so fast, but it does color the vowel, and that persists longer. Thob, capital for emphatic.
Tub. Tub. Tib.
Teeb.
Tob.
Thob.
Tib.
Teeb. The unmarked T, the basic one. And these letters are all the same basic action when they're not final. There the ya is different. But these tooth-shaped or boat in the final form. Tooth, tooth, boat. 2 above for T, 2 below for E or ya, and 1 below for B.
Tub.
Tube is the dark T. So, tube, tube.
Tub. Tib. Tib. Tib.
The only real choice here.
Teb.
Tab with the basic T. So, tob, tab, tube. Omar min Almanya. Omar
عمر
min
من
Almanya.
ألمانيا.
Germany. Allemagne is the French name for Germany. From a tribal name on the German-French border.
طيب. تاب بط
It's a finger mistake, not a brain one. Bot is that right?
بط
Bot. Not bet, this one would be, but bot.
طيب طيب طيب تيب
Teeb. Plain T.
طيب
Teeb, emphatic, darker quality. Tube.
توب طيب طاب
Tube would be a good one to
توب
contrast with. Tab.
تيب تاب طيب طوب تاب
Bot.
بط
Teeb.
طيب
Letter A or aleph goes pretty high. I mean the letter shape all the way up to like gotcha. The phoneme in its allophones. Only three, but yeah, exactly. So very good point. And a good way to for a convenient one. So we've got the vowel space. E and U are high vowels. Where the jaw is high, we put them high up in the chart. And our basic vowel A is just the low one. That's the only contrasting thing about it. So it has all this range in the vowel space, where for English there's 3 or 4 phonemes in a section like that. So yeah, a nice A or E, as you say, up in epsilon region here. Just cut the logical space of possible vowels. The different regions, according to certain rules, from language to language, A, O, and so on. Teeb.
تيب
Bulb.
طوب تاب
Tab.
تاب
So as Levi points out, there's only 3 basic vowel qualities in Arabic words. There may be from loanwords an O, U contrast coming in, but as far as short vowels, A, E, or A, E, and U. So I know I said 4, but A, are a single thing, the A color, E, U, those 3.
أستاذي سام من كوبا
Steady with the fricative
أستاذي
D and E. My professor. You can see it there too. Try not to hover over it so I can.
أستاذي سام من كوبا
Sam min Cuba. So Professor Sam is from Cuba, I think. My Professor Sam. Steady. So not feminine, but marked for possessor. Sam name is from Cuba.
معلمي جورج
Alimi, my teacher. So is this a sentence or saying my teacher George? My teacher is George.
أمي محاسبة
Muhasiba.
محاسبة
Ummi, my mother, is an accountant. Hasiba.
أمي محاسبة
So hasiba would be our root there. Accountant. M, emphatic H, and aleph. Seen. A single tooth for B, and then a final H. Muhasiba. Accountant. Feminine. If the A is the only vowel affected by the consonant, it's not. How do you tell the difference between tu, to? Let's listen for that specifically when we get to another hearing one. So to me, an emphaticized E sounds closer to E. It has a lowering effect. Tuh, tuh. And to, well, it's still a high back rounded vowel. Maybe also a bit lowered, but let's listen.
أمي محاسبة.
Here we don't have the darkening effect from, even though ha is the emphatic one, doesn't darken the a.
أبي وجاري.
Abi, my father, وجاري, and my neighbor.
بيتي.
Beiti, my house. Those are the similar letter shapes. Beit, house, and bint, daughter, look almost alike.
جاري جورج محاسب.
Muhasib, the male form, the non-feminine. So my neighbor George, subject, is an accountant.
زوجي محاسب جيد.
Pretty far away, it's awfully small. Zauji, my spouse.
زوجي.
Husband. Muhasib, accountant.
محاسب.
Jayid. Alright, the subject is just the first word. My husband is a new. Jayid means new. Accountant. Good accountant.
زوجي جوعان وتعبان.
Zauji, my husband.
زوجي جوعان وتعبان.
جوعان.
جوعان.
That's a word. So the
جوعان.
what's the rule? The wa is one that obligatorily ends it. You have to take up an initial form following wa. The letters that do that, do you remember my mnemonic? There's 4 of them, 4 basic shapes, where you have to, there is no medial form, it's got to be final. They are all present in the language name Urdu. Alif, Ra, Da, plain D, and Wa. Whenever you see one of these, you've got to end your flow and start with an initial shape, like we see here. It looks like 2 words for that reason. But this word Jaoan, hungry.
جوعان.
You've got to
جوعان. جوعان.
and same thing with the Aleph. So you get the absolute shape of N.
وتعبان.
تعبان.
وتعبان.
Hungry and tired. My husband is hungry and tired. So maybe this an is an adjectival suffix. جوعان و تعبان.
زوجي جوعان وتعبان.
تعبان.
زوجي تعبان جدا.
جدا, very much. زوجي تعبان. So زوجي, my husband. زوجي.
زوجي. زوجي تعبان جدا.
تعبان.
تعبان.
See the smiling bear face here, or winking maybe, right end of the word. How to tell between 2 words when the first ends with U. I think there would be a bigger gap between, but of course there's a lot of variability in the way that Arabic is written by hand. There is no written mark to tell you that it's a word value instead. Gotta use your judgment and your knowledge, I reckon. زوجي تعبان, hungry.
زوجي تعبان جدا.
جدا, very much.
جدا.
So initial J, كسر vowel E, and then doubling sign on the da, and the aleph with the two parallel lines, equal sign shape above, is one way of marking N, so maybe a nasalized aleph, now that I think about it. Maybe that's like an anuswara sign. This is very tired.
معلمي جورج ممتاز.
معلم, my teacher,
ممتاز.
George. I think this word order could also be translated, my teacher, معلمي, is the amazing George. But I think it's my teacher George is amazing. معلم George. Is it O or U in the name?
معلمي جورج ممتاز.
George. If it's O, then you've got a new phoneme coming in for loanwords. معلم, my teacher. معلمي is amazing.
أستاذي سام جوعان.
أستاذي سام جوعان. أستاذي. Let's type an A. D apostrophe letter. أستاذي سام جوعان.
أستاذي سام جوعان.
Needing to get it in Arabic, I need to translate it. My teacher Sam, my professor. Sam is hungry.
معلمي جورج وجاري سام.
معلمي جورج وجاري سام. My teacher George. Wait. معلمي جورج
جورج وجاري.
وجاري Sam, and my neighbor Sam.
أستاذي سام.
أستاذي Sam, my professor Sam.
زوجي تعبان.
زوجي تعبان. My husband is hungry. Tired.
جاري جورج تعبان.
جاري جورج تعبان. My husband George.
جورج.
تعبان is tired. Neighbor.
بيتي جميل.
How embarrassing. بيتي جميل. My house is beautiful.
بيتي جديد وجميل.
بيتي جديد وجميل.
جديد. بيتي جديد وجميل.
بيتي جديد وجميل. So unless I'm missing them, I think you go quite a ways without hearing an emphatic next to oo. Two words with, oh, that's not the question. Oo and E, right? And the front one, yeah. So we want to hear emphatic, non-emphatic, especially with the dentals. Specifically those, that's what he said. Not terribly common, but we'll keep looking. So it's بيتي جديد, my house is new, وجميل, and pretty. Cool story.
زوجي محاسب جيد.
زوجي, this was the husband. My husband, محاسب, is an accountant. جيد, a good one.
جاري جورج تعبان.
جاري جورج تعبان. My neighbor George is تعبان, tired. Your name?
هفب هفب قب
Come.
هفب هف هف
Hef.
هقب
Hub. A cup. I think, well, at least in what we're seeing here, A is the most frequent vowel, it seems.
هقب هف هف هق
So even though I would say Q is emphatic, it doesn't have the same effect on the vowel.
هق
A very ashy one.
ق
Ka. Okay, it depends whether onset or coda. Ka, not ka, but ka. Interesting. Heck. It seems that onset has a. Well, I don't know if it's generally true. Does the onset generally have a decisive effect, where the coda might not? It vary from case to case.
ق
Ka.
هق
Heck.
هق فب
Feb. That's fab. Ka.
ق
Is the 2 dots above, and it always goes below the line in its final or absolute form. The line is shared with these words next to it, and this one descends. Hefeb, 3 letters. Ha-fa-ba. Here we. Oh, that's a ka.
هفب
Wait.
هقب
A ka, 2 dots. Hefeb.
هفب
These are the same basic shape. It's the number of dots that you gotta look at.
هفب
F2Q. Hef.
هف
And the F does not dip below the line. Stays on the surface like a boat. Huck. Heck.
هف هفب هق
So a transition there. Elk.
هف هفب
Emphatic, what do you mean? Difficult to pronounce. They just sounds in a word, or what is being emphasized? That's just a traditional label for them. That's what older European grammars labeled. So I mean the emphatic T, thaw, Q, emphatic H, as compared with T, K, H. We've also got the and z, different from the, da, za. The, z, or the, depending on dialect. So they're all written with capital. The emphatic ones are TQH, and below it's the caps. Those are emphatics. Let's be more precise. Like I said, it's just an arbitrary name like masculine, feminine, neuter, or accusative. Don't worry too much about the meaning of about the identity of the label. It's just they have certain qualities in common. Maybe it's a spurious grouping of things. That I'm open to that, absolutely. But that's what I have in mind. It's just between ta and ta, capital T1, the emphatic is the marked one. It's less frequent. It doesn't show up in inflectional morphology. It's only in roots, it seems. And I think that's true for Q versus K. Not sure about H versus H, though. Heck. Heck. And here it sounded like going from plain H to emphatic Q, transition from A to A. Heck. Really diphthong. But we want. Wait. Cob.
قب
Feb.
فب
Huck.
هقب
Cub. Okay, here it's between two A's.
هق ق هق
Yep.
هقب
Cub.
هق
So even though it's the same consonants involved,
هقب هق
no, it's the same vowel between H and Q, I think.
هقب قب
Cub. And we want heck.
هقب هق
Alright, over here in my Arabic keyboard. The. Wait, this is voiced fricative, I think. that one is extremely rare. Also, how could I forget? And a capital D, B or Z. I think it varies by region. Let's look it up when we get to one. The one near Ein. Yeah, forgot that one too. These are what to my... I could be wrong about the specifics, the precise set. But I know for sure the is in them. And oh, let's get that. There's so many of them. These all have unmarked correspondence, to my understanding, that are more frequently occurring. This is the one. These are the ones I mean by emphatic. And to me, it seems possibly significant. Well, it's just two different letter shapes, but the common first component there seems indicative, perhaps, of something, some shared phonetic feature. Probably not, though. It's not a featural script like Korean. Just an intriguing possibility. So, what is like them that's not emphatic? T, S, sin, za, da, ka, and then all is like ga, ra. Maybe that's emphatic too. Rein. Ha versus ha. Those, to my mind, are plain unmarked consonants for this feature of pharyngeal constriction. Also, is what I think the articulations share of these. But I'm happy to be corrected on that. Should we look it up? Seems worthwhile. We are talking about it here. Wikipedia usually is pretty good on these kinds of questions. Emphatic consonants. Let's do the other one, actually. While many languages have numerous dialects of different phonology, the contemporary spoken Arabic language is more properly described as a continuum of varieties. No doubt. Okay. All phonemes between emphatic pharyngalized consonants. Okay, and an IPA written with the superscript. Yeah. The raised pharyngeal stop symbol. Ein. Pharyngalized consonants and non-emphatic ones. It's just, yeah, like I say, a traditional grammatical term. Some of these could go back centuries and just be really, it's like guttural, just an old, or laryngeal in Indo-European is just kind of an arbitrary label. Nobody knows, in fact, what their articulation was. So just a category, but it's also in some levels, as far as contrast, if it's true that all consonant phonemes contrast between this. Well, so it's a plus minus, right? The consonant is either emphatic or not. In the divine of Allah, you have an emphatic L, but all other L's are not emphatic, non-pharyngalized. Some of these phonemes have coalesced in the various dialects, while new phonemes have been introduced through borrowing or phonemic splits. Phonemic quality of length applies to consonants as well as vowels. Okay, so let's go to that one. Proto-Semitic. Okay, 5 emphatic phonemes reconstructed for Proto-Semitic. It's not all that there will be, I guess. In Semitic linguistics, an emphatic consonant is an obstruent consonant which originally contrasted with a series of both voiced and voiceless obstruents. In specific Semitic languages, members of this series may be realized as uvularized or pharyngalized, velarized, ejective, or plain voiced or voiceless consonants. Wow. It's also used to describe cognate series in other Afro-Asiatic languages. typically realized as ejective, implosive, or pharyngalized. So to me what that suggests is that throughout the histories of Arabic and Hebrew, the precise phonetics of these consonants will have varied somewhat. But I think the class membership is pretty firm. Doesn't seem to be, in Arabic at least. Okay, on with that one. That was the lesson. But let's get on with the next then.
زوجك ممتاز يا ريم.
Alright, a new possessive marker with the final K and no ah after it. Wait, it's second person male, I believe.
زوجك ممتاز يا ريم.
It's your husband. ممتاز يا ريم.
زوجك ممتاز يا ريم.
زوجك. So maybe it's ik for feminine addressee and uk for male addressee. Your husband is amazing. Mumtaz, that's the basic kernel sentence. And then ya is the vocative particle. Reem.
هو كلبك وهو جوعان يا عمر.
Wish there was a slow option, that would be helpful.
هو كلبك وهو جوعان يا عمر.
Huwa kelbek, that is your dog.
وهو.
Wahuwa, and he. Jaw'an ya Omar. That is your dog, and he is hungry, Omar.
هو.
Is or he? Interesting. What are we going for? That is your dog, or is it a question? He is your dog. Your dog and what? Yeah, is this written together with who? Wahuwa. I guess it always is. And he. Jaw'an is hungry. Ya Omar.
هو زوجك يا روزا.
Huwa zawjik. Ya Rosa. He is your husband, Rosa. Huwa.
هو.
Good to note a geminated glide. Huwa.
هو زوجك يا روزا.
Zawjik, your husband. Zawjik.
زوجك.
Yeah.
يا.
Rosa.
روزا. هو ابنك يا روزا. هو ابنك يا روزا.
He is your son, Abner.
هو.
Yeah, Rosa. He's your son, Rosa. Not that the son is named Rosa. Yeah signals that I'm addressing you by your name. Person I'm speaking to.
هو ابنك وهو ذكي يا سام.
هو ابنك, that he is your son. وهو ذكي يا Sam, and he is clever.
ابنك ذكي يا جورج.
ابنك ذكي. Your son is clever. يا جورج.
بنتك ذكية يا سامية.
بنتك ذكية يا سامية. Bintik, your daughter. Is smart. So even though it's the same word order as if it was saying your smart daughter, the marking I think would be different for that instruction. Dhakiya, it's agreeing with the noun, but it's the predicate and not, what do we call it? A positive? No. Predicative adjective. Whatever.
هي بنتك يا بوب.
It's about whether the topic comment boundary is being crossed between the two words.
هي بنتك يا بوب. هي.
Yeah, bintek. Bintek. Interesting.
هي بنتك يا بوب.
So I think we have both, not both, we have ik, ek, and uk. All three vowels there. So maybe just the K is all that the thy possessive consists of.
هي بنتك يا بوب.
Yeah, bob.
بنتك. هي بنتك يا بوب.
Bob sounds like an O, not oo in the name. Bob. And for loanwords like this, or
Bob.
foreign names, that
Bob.
write each vowel, whether long or short.
Yeah.
Vowels. We call that Pliny spelling. P-L-E-N-E. I don't know. Well, I don't know if it's usually referred to as that in Arabic, but in like cuneiform, that's what you'd call it.
هي بنتك يا بوب.
Yeah, Bob. I'm addressing you, Bob. She is your daughter. Why would one need to tell him?
كلبك جوعان يا جودي.
كلبك جوعان يا Judy. Your daughter is hungry, Judy. Ah, your dog, كلبك. These look like te and h. Te ha. Look alike, you say. Yeah, indeed they do. Good call. Delightful. Interesting. Any other lookalikes that you see? Not necessarily just those two scripts. Just widen it out. Is hungry. Judy. Oops.
هي بنتك وهي ذكية يا جورج. هي بنتك وهي ذكية يا جورج.
Your daughter, and she's clever, George.
هو كلبك وهو سعيد يا عمر.
هو كلبك. He is your dog. وهو سعيد يا عمر, and he is happy. Omar. So this, note that we generally will spell this name. Back to your question about how do you distinguish oo versus next to plain and emphatic T. Well, this isn't the T, obviously. Oh, I guess the contrast with the I, and it could be the glottal stop, actually, now that I think about it. Maybe G is also emphatic. For G, of course. There's no G. There was a G that shifted to J. That's the story that I believe. And the here, that contrasts with ah. So it's not necessarily that it's really the same phonetic opposition, just the fact that in principle there's this paradigm. Similar to Irish, you have the marked, more acute sounding palatals and the unmarked broad consonants. Here it's the other way around as far as acuteness, graveness. More lettership, yeah. Kiuk is fu, that is true. Oh, and this it really is like. No, I think glottal stop is not. It doesn't become ah. Ah is given by ah. The darkness of A. This is a as in Abby. What's Abby? What is the Ibn Abnik? We saw it in the, well, maybe not word initially. Let's look for that. He is happy.
هي بنتك وهي مشهورة يا سامية. هي بنتك وهي مشهورة يا سامية.
مشهورة يا سامية.
هي بنتك وهي مشهورة يا سامية.
سامية.
هي.
She is your daughter, and she is مشهور, famous. سامية.
هو غريب وهو زوجك يا لما.
هو غريب وهو زوجك يا أما.
هو غريب وهو زوجك يا لما.
لما. He هو غريب is strange. وهو زوجك, and he is your husband. لما.
هو ابنك يا بوب.
هو ابنك, so it's all run together. I don't hear a glottal stop in this case, ابنك, but that would be
ابنك.
Ibnek. Oh,
هو.
it is the
ابن
is
هو. ابنك.
carrying over
هو.
from huwa. I think the he pronoun is really this shape. Huwa. Note that it's a dark and huwa.
هو ابنك يا بوب.
And that combined
هو.
diacritic there, the three-shaped tashdid for the doubling and the
هو. هو.
letter A vowel, basically.
هو ابنك يا بوب.
He is your son. Yeah, Bob. Let's put this one under the microscope real quick. Oh, the first one. This language today, Arabic. Huwa abnik ya Bob. That a could be a case ending. It would be nominative. Abnik. Ibnek. Yeah, that's nice. I'm not sure if that's where the boundary is. Yeah, Bob is really parenthetical. Ibnek. And this is the verby part. To be your son. Subject predicate. He is your son, Bob.
هو ابنك يا سامية.
Huwa abnik ya Samia. He is abnik. Ibnek.
ابنك.
Ibnik.
هو ابنك يا سامية.
He is your son, Samia. Simone.
هو كلبك وهو جوعان يا كري.
وكلبك.
هو كلبك وهو جوعان يا كري.
Your dog and he's hungry, carry. هو كلبك وهو جوعان
كري. هو كلبك وهو جوعان يا كري. هو ابنك وهو ممتاز يا سامية.
هو ابنك وهو ممتاز يا سامية. He is your son, ابنك. وهو ممتاز يا سامية. And he is amazing. سامية.
كلبك جوعان يا جودي.
كلبك جوعان يا جودي. Your dog is hungry. يا جودي. And a nice parallel, I may have mentioned this before, forgive me, with Joanne means hungry. English has a sort of similar shaped word, also meaning hungry originally, but now in a transferred sense. Jejun, wanting, hungry in the sense of lacking or not having meaningful content. Jejun, hungry. Joanne, that's a good mnemonic for that to me. Okay, I feel like writing some kanji.
Da.
時間、時間。
办公室。
Gotta get the right language. Yeah, it's like kanji. I meant it in sort of English all-embracing sense. Not quite the right word. Oops.
爸，
走吧，
Let's go.
我们周末出去喝咖啡吧。
Excellent. Let's go drink coffee on the weekend. So let's think about, or talk about, the ba. Where else have we seen it?
咖
I mean, what other functions and meanings to ba? When I think about ba, what I think is it always makes sense to regard it as a fusion of bu and a question particle a. QN, this abbreviation I find handy for question, first and last letter. So it can be used to form yes, up or down, yes, no question, similar to ma, maybe with a different flavor. But here, the pragmatic meaning is making a polite suggestion for an activity. The verbal kernel, the kernel of the sentence is go, right? Subject we, then we have a time expression on the weekend. Sequence of
出
verbs. Go out,
去
to drink,
咖
so exit, go, drink, coffee. 3
出
verbal.
去
Chu you could regard as a compound. 去喝 is not a compound.
喝去
So
末
what's the right number?
出
3 verbal
去
characters. But I would say it's a sequence of 2 verb phrases. 出去 go out. 喝咖啡 喝咖啡 is drink coffee. 我们周末出去喝咖啡吧. So
吧
how you get from the yes no to the polite suggestion is shall we go? You're asking yes no question. So it's saving face. You're not giving a command for someone to do something. You're asking them. Right, so 2 very distinct and useful functions about the most common, I think. Well, it depends on your speech surroundings, what you're doing. First meaning for ba is polite suggestion. Sentence final particle always. And also yes no question form. Also writes the English word bar. But
门
it's something else. It's an exaptation, which they do quite a bit actually. Exaptation is a term from biology when an existing structure is repurposed, put to new use. By
百
I think you noticed it on your own when you invert that, rotate it. I shouldn't have clicked on it, but it looks like 100.
大
Toneless as the final particle. In
音
there's many readings, many meanings rather. One reading. Cause reason is a basic one.
脑
Your brain.
起
Writes how many?
这个周末你有没有时间？
这个周末 that's our topic this weekend. 你有没有时间? So here in this one, topic of the sentence and subject are distinct entities. Or you could say you've got a subject comment as the comment, or topic comment rather. That two-parter as the comment of a larger topic comment. As for this weekend, do you have time or not?
我这个周末不想出去。
我这个周末，我 click them. I wanted to write them. So clear 我 nope, yeah. Just a question of the Zoom. I this weekend. HQI going to review the simplified forms. Levi says, I did not notice that about the kanji 400. I was taught that when I first took a Japanese class. Okay. Both of those characters have different simplified forms. We write 1 on top for the new 这. It's probably from the book Kanji Look and Learn. It is indeed there too, if I recall. We recall the same. 我这个 个 individual. So in the simplified forms, Y, YMR, 这 and OWJR, 个, or HWJR with bamboo on top. Writes the same or is related form, differentiated more abstractly with a person radical than with the bamboo. One viewer, interesting. Alright, let me open the door real quick. Be right back.
我这个周末不想出去。
不想出去。不想。想 is DBU on top. So we'd omit the B now. DUP down below. 不想 do not wish. 出去 the outward one is UU. 出 and 去 to go to a place. GI. 不想出去。这个周末 I forgot the weekend word. 周末 we leave off the L-shaped Y radical in the simplified and it's just BGR. 周末 is M. No, this one is. No, I think it's MD. Or one shape on top of a tree. Or no, it's JD. I can never remember. Because this one is Wei. DJ is Mo. Very similar ones. It's the lengths of those, the relative lengths of those horizontal strokes that distinguishes these. 这个周末 we got it there. 我这个周末不想出去。
我这个周末不想出去。
不想出去。So those last two, 出 and 去, both aspirates. That's a little hard for English native speakers to get down, I think. It takes a lot of confidence. We don't often have a sequence of aspirates like that. The 去 is unstressed, but still aspirated.
我这个周末不想出去。
上个星期五他没有出去。
So the topic, the initial part there, gives us the time. 上个星期五他没有出去. Everything after 他 is the comment, which has its own subject within it. He not have go out means he did not. Last 星期五 weekday 5 means Friday. He didn't go out.
你今天下午有时间吗？
你今天下午有时间吗？ Do you have time this afternoon? So the topic is you. 你. And here I would say 今天下午 is just the adverbial put at the adverbial of time.
你
Adjunct phrase. Not essential to the verbal action. Extra information included with no verb is put at the beginning of the comment part. 有 is the verb. 时间 to have time or time to exist. Since we've got a topic you, using have is very convenient in English. 时间 and
间吗
signals a yes in the question.
我们明年去西班牙旅游吧。
Okay, that final ba again. Let's do it. 我们 we topic. Time 明年 next year. The evident year, clear one. 去 go 西班牙 to Spain
旅
is the first verb in this serial construction, and then travel in transitive. 旅游 like roam around and have fun. 我们明年 so it's not indicative, not saying we will do it, but let's making a suggestion. Let's go to Spain. Let's travel to, we could say. Go on a trip to Spain. Travel to Spain next year. Let's go traveling in Spain. Sounds a little funny to me, but gets close to the word for word of the Chinese.
对不起，我现在没有时间。
对不起, I'm sorry. 我现在没有时间. I don't have time now. We tend to put now in English at the end of our verb phrase. In Chinese, though, it comes after the topic. We can leave off the sorry part and just focus on this as a complete sentence. I, topic, now not have time.时间
时间
This word means time interval. The traditional shape is like this. Uh-oh. Let's express input it. It'll be A-I-A-A. So it's time, or sun next to temple for the hour or time word, and then sun between the gates for the interval word. 时间
后
Hope doesn't really have. I think it was a verb meaning wait. It doesn't occur on its own in modern Chinese that I know of.
有空
To have free time as a single word. So a pickpocket compound. 有空.
有空
This is 2 syllables. We know it's got to be 2 characters for Chinese.
来
To come. And the graph originally depicted a growing plant. So this one was exapted from that plant word for the important verb motion to me.
我们什么时候出去吃饭？
什么时候? What time will we go out to eat? So Chinese likes to make it explicitly verb object much more often than English does. Eat cooked food. 吃饭 instead of just saying eat like we do.
后
对不起，我们没有空。
Don't have free time.
明天晚上你有空来我家吃晚饭吗
Okay, so run together like that. I think the best translation would be, do you have time to come to dinner at my place? house for dinner tomorrow. Would you be free? When you say something that doesn't occur on its own in modern Chinese, more likely it did. Probably not always, but it's a good bet. Yeah, in older stages of the Chinese language, there's much more single syllable words than you find now, both for nouns and verbs. Oh, let's look it up. That's why when you look at a Chinese dictionary, you look up a single character especially. Be very careful. When we write ho, this one's going to be, let me picture it. It starts with O and ends with K. Okay. O, L, N, K. Oh my goodness. This one, like I say, I think it meant to wait or a period of time. It was the rule for Old Chinese words to be both used as both nouns and verbs. Okay, that's not. Oh, I made it a bit too long. Ho, this one. So when we look it up as a single character in a dictionary, it'll give us meanings most of the time. Some things are utterly meaningless on their own, but that's really, we got to treat that with caution, take it with a grain of salt. Doesn't mean it will be understood if you try to use it as a verb in a sentence. The reading ho, there's just the one. It's got 17 listed, but is it really a free morpheme or is it bound? Reconnoiter, scout, observe, survey, wait for, await, respectfully await, to visit, to send one's respects to. So you'll see it a lot in compounds, and you kind of need to know that it has this range of meanings. But I'd be surprised if you found a Mandarin sentence that used that as a single syllable word. It was very limited experience on my part. That's my feeling about it. So many words are in that class, though, that you'll see them in compounds, but that they're meaningless on their own. It's as if we wrote English words syllable by syllable. So often morpheme boundaries and syllable boundaries coincide, but very often they don't.
来，
昨天晚上他请了我跳舞。
Okay, we've seen qing to mean please, but it doesn't mean that here. It's transitive. 他请了我跳舞. So 我 I would say is an object of the verb 请. 跳舞 is a verb phrase meaning to dance. I wouldn't say that that's an object. That's some kind of complement. So yesterday evening is the topic. Last night. He, subject. The best core meaning for this qing to me is request. He requested me to dance, or he invited me. Qing with the speaker.
请
有空.
有空
So this kung, like many words, can be fourth tone or first tone. Here, fourth in a nominal sense, to have empty space temporarily. 后
后大来
The sentence final ba thing is toneless. It has no tone associated with it. So, Levi asks, is that similar to like Latin roots in English? Like sieve, exactly. That's a very close parallel. Sieve, inception, we see them all over the place.
我想请你们来我的家吃午饭。
But if somebody sieved you, what would they have done? That was a definite incidence of ception that I witnessed today.
我想请你们来我的家吃午饭。
It's like a pseudomorph. It's not meaningful, but you see it as a sequence of sounds or letters all over the place.
我想请你们来我的家吃午饭。
So I like to break these things down into kernel sentences and verb phrases within that. Let's build it up from the end. 午饭 means lunch,
午饭
the noon food. 吃午饭 to have lunch, to eat lunch. 家吃午饭 is meaningless. 来我的家吃午饭 is a series of verb phrases. Come to my house and eat lunch. 你们 is a subject for that, you, apparently, but when we look before 你们, 请 is the verb. It's really an object of that too. We could take it both ways. This 你们, object of requesting,
请我
and also the subject of coming to my house. And now 想 before that, I would like for whatever clause to occur that is named after that. In this case, it's everything else that follows is the complement of 想.
我
I wouldn't say it's the object. 我 is the topic. I would like to ask you to come to my house. 来我的家, verb phrase 1. Actually, exception is a productive suffix that means like with recursion or something like that. I wouldn't call it a single suffix though. So to my mind, it's ion, I-O-N. It's unpronounceable, yun. That's a suffix. In a sort of, well, from a Latin perspective. So nation, see very often with T, but also with an S, so like evasion, confusion, and so on. The S really reflects a cluster of two dentals. But for a rough approximation for English, I think this ION is a good shape. So that occurs there inception, so we're looking at least two there. Something like this. Alternative, oh, maybe not a dot, that gives it that weird look. Could possibly be this too, but I'm more inclined to the first. So we should say sep. Now, sep could be a suffix, but I don't think it is. You certainly have sequences of suffix in English. That's not the issue. But think about where it is in the words where it occurs. Reception, conception, perception, and longer things like misconception. That position in a word has a special status. It's not a suffix. I'd like to ask you, and so there's a couple ways to translate it. We could do phrase by phrase, come to my house, and insert and. 吃午饭, eat lunch, or we could say, ask you to. We can replace the verb 来 with a preposition in English. Ask you to my house, and in fact we could do that also with 吃 in this case, for lunch. Slightly different instruction. Compositionally, yes, but synchronically an example of dreamception. Okay. Ception functions as a derivation of excellent example. Although I don't know that I've encountered dreamception. What is that? I'm armed with a Google too, I realize. Dreamception. That to me could also be regarded as a portmanteau. What is the status of sep or sept in your view? As it frequently occurs in English words, like the ones I named. The introvert. I recently had a dream in which I went to sleep. Urban Dictionary. False awakening. Several videos with that. I don't know if it's established. Oh, you just mean as a thing out there that you've seen in the wild. Ability to choose to wake up in the middle of a dream. Is that the word you have in mind? What a cool word. So, in English, the way I've phrased this here, the only verb, well, would like, sorry, three verbs. Would like, and ask. But where Chinese furthermore uses come and eat, I've substituted for English to and for. Chinese really is verbs rather than prepositions, although the word 从, do you know the characters simplified in tradition for this one, Levi? This one is only prepositional, I would say. It means come from a place, starting from a time. It's got a really delightful simplified form. Tell me if you know it. I'll give you a couple minutes there. Dream within a dream. That's how you know it. Okay, this one disagrees with you slightly, but I like both of those things. This one, of course, it's Urban Dictionary. It's kind of jokish. It's not a real scholarly resource to my mind. It's got a lot of meme stuff. The ability to choose to wake up in the middle of a dream. So kind of the opposite meaning. I just did a dreamception. What about my favorite online resource? Does not yet have an entry. I love this construction. Could be a word soon. Any day now.
有空
Verb object phrase. One of them probably simplified. Oh. No? That's too many. That's 中. Let's see if this one gets it. Yep. This is the simplified form. The traditional one is just an elaboration of that. This is quite old, actually. 2,000 years ago, this was the preferred one. And then it got elaborated to an H-O double and left foot shape. Then it's O-O-O. We skip the Y. So it's H and then 4 O's. 从. So this one in classical Chinese was also still verbal, to follow someone. It's both it's both wonderful and not so wonderful. A short, succinct spelling of the view of ancient Chinese gender norms. That's what I thought originally. Yeah, you were right at first. It's nice and iconic. So one person behind another depicts the action of following, and that's embedded in this elaboration. That's the traditional shape. It's there in the top right. Okay, and I think round about that is really just an allograph of the 走之, that L-shaped letter Y radical. Let's look it up. I think it developed in a separate way here. Yeah, this 错 is what I have in mind. Yeah, you have it as a clear, identifiable element on the left. So in the character Dao, right, this Y shape, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, some Canje inputs will give you the components when you input the letter, not this one though. Okay, where are we?
大 约
approximately. Now, 大爷, I'm thinking, 约 can mean like to make an engagement.
来
Come toward me. 后
后
acception word or accept. So, as for that the status of sieve, which alternates with sep when t follows, I would say that's just a lost root. It's a rooty part. It's not lost is not quite right either. It's part of Latin loanwords. It's a cran morph, really. Well, that's not quite right either. It's not unique. The cran and cranberry doesn't occur anywhere else, except now in the term cran morph. But its position when it occurs is that of a meaningful verb root. It's a reduced form, I think, of this Latin verb, capere, capio, from which we get captive and all of its derivatives.
我们什么时候去喝啤酒？
我们什么时候去喝啤酒？ Crayon, interesting. That's very interesting. Crayon. So that medial Y in French often comes from a D. I don't know about the old history of this crayon word. Creta, of course. Yeah. So a T got weakened out of existence in the history of this word in French. Creta, we have Cretaceous, and German Kreide is derived from this, with that voicing happening sometime in the last 2,000 years. 去啤酒. So, 去喝, go to beer, doesn't make much sense. 喝啤酒, it's a natural verb object phrase. 去, go to do that. And then before that, the question part. At the beginning of the comment, the topic is we. As for us, what time will we go drink beer?
你星期六有空吗？
你 of course, O-N-F 你星 Did you see that the traditional 从 reminds you of 是? I did not see that one. Oh, now I do. Now that I look again. I overlooked it. Ooh, that's interesting. Well, it's got the same two components on the bottom. Drop the keyboard. So Levi means A-M-Y-O. What they share is a Y-O, which doesn't occur as its own character, but helpfully been provided. Also is there in Zu, R-Y-O. What else we got? Oh, we saw it in H-H-Y-O. H-Y. No, not available. If I say Y. Anyway, not this. This is the radical that I had in mind a moment ago. It's the left and bottom right of this 从 are the same component historically in the old writing as the enclosure here.
你星期六有空吗？
你星 we write the sun A-H-Q-M. 星 Qi is written with the basket, which is a T shape. Overlook and oversee are very different meanings, yep. So T with two M strokes inside, and a C below, and then B on the right side. Qi for period of time. 星期六, the number 6. 星期六 means Saturday. 有 K above, B below. Have and then空, meaning empty. For free time, that's a J, roof above, with a C. For the cave, this bit that I've written so far is the character meaning cave, and then the phonetic M. So J, C, M, right? Yep. On its own, the phonetic, we have to write MLM, but in combination, all three strokes on the bottom can just be M. 有空吗？对不对？
你星期六有空吗？
Are you free then? So to make it a yes no question, R, S, Q, F for the traditional. I guess this would be N, V, S, M if it were to be input. Are you free on Saturday?
昨天为什么你没有来工作？
So the word order here and phrase order, very unlike English. 昨天, topic yesterday. Actually, we can get pretty close though. Yesterday, why you not have come work? Why didn't you come to work yesterday? So when you're a native Chinese speaker learning English, question formation is kind of a nightmare. The core sentence would have you come to work, then a time expression somewhere outside of that, in Chinese with front, in this case, in English behind, that's no biggie. But then you have to derive from you come, you have to derive the question form, didn't you come? A negative question. Not easy. Chinese word order is much simpler.
他们什么时候去上学？
他们什么时候去上学？ So 上学 is a compound that on its own means go to school. And we've now also got 去, so it's go to school. We wouldn't say 去学. 去学校 would mean go to a school building. But 上学 is nice and succinct, 2 syllables instead of 3. 他们 means they. What time go to school? So it's not giving us, it's asking us about the time. Could mean are they going, or did they go, or do they, if it's a regular thing.
我不想要请他们去骑马。
我不想要请他们去骑马。我不想要 Okay, the 要 does, in this case, does it ever 邀请? That feels like it's a compound. Maybe it's written with a different 邀. So I'm going to go to a phonetic input here. Y-A-O-Q-I-N-G. Yeah, different 邀 means to invite or request. And here we've got 要 as part of as in a compound with the preceding one 想要.
不
It's just a 2-syllable auxiliary verb. Its complement is itself verbal. Quite complex. Invite them to go ride
马
So, I do not desire or wish. I don't want to invite them to go riding. I do not want to invite them to ride horses. We'll stay more literal there.
我不想要请他们去骑马。
不想要请他们去骑马。I don't want to invite them to ride horses.
过
To pass by something. Many meanings there. To pass by and spend, if it's a verb on its own. And the traditional shape is a Y BBR, not I. Good grief. There it is, the second one. YR.
你来过我们的商店吗？
This 过 is not the verb meaning pass by. Here we can regard it as an aspect. It's derived from that. But it's an aspect, or it's I would say, an experiential marker, an evidential. You come in the past yourself to, come to, from 来, 2 words of English, our store. Have you been to? Have you been to our store? It's asking, do you have the experience of coming yourself?
过大后有空
过。
你有空一起去喝一杯啤酒吗？
你有空一起去喝一杯啤酒吗？ Are you free to get a glass of beer together?
不好意思，这是我的错。
不好意思，这是我的错。Sorry. This is my mistake. My fault. 错 means flaw or fault. Mistake, error. And in modern Chinese still, the single syllable word can be both noun and verb. We say both 不错 means it's not bad, and 没错 there is no flaw. In one it's a verb, in the other it's a noun. We can tell from the negation.
爸有空后
过
过来
So one kind of cool thing is that you can have, oh dear, both 过来 is to come past something, pass by, and we can say 来过, have you come to yourself. So that's D-O-Y-R. But it's not a compound. That would just be a modified, it'd be a suffixed verb, I guess. I like the shape of xiang, tree I heart. Structure feels reminiscent of a hanguru syllable. Just the arrangement, well, okay, we're going from initial to final. Yeah, it does have that. So a hanguru syllable, or do you think in the shapes themselves too? In a Korean syllable, like come, you've got two parts on top, left and right, with a single one centered in the bottom. So yeah, I agree. Xiang, here it'll be DP. Has the same arrangement, same balance going on.
我没去过那家中国饭馆。
So all this together, 没去过. I would say that's a single verb phrase, maybe two words. 去过 is a single word. I don't know if that's really a meaningful distinction for Chinese. But the 过 marker is immediately after the verb root. 那家中国饭馆, one of the words for restaurant. The food establishment with the shared radical.
饭
And then compounded here, the China restaurant, easily understandable enough. Just note that it's not an adjective like we have in English Chinese restaurant. Now, 家 in this position after 那, appointing a deictic, and before a head noun, tells you that it's the classifier. But 家 can also be a noun and a family name. There's other usage too. That restaurant, that Chinese restaurant, and the complex verb in front of that, I haven't been to that one. Restaurant.
你来过这家商店吗？
你来过这家 same measure word. Feels very balanced. Indeed it does. 你来
过这家商店吗？
Come to this store before. O-N-F. 你来 I guess it would be J-F-D. In 仓颉 JFD. See if it cooperates. No, it doesn't have that available. It's got some, but not all. Simplified ones in Shinjitai. 来过, so that's really a paradoxical pairing. Not so much really. Come and pass. Not really. But here the 过 is a suffix. It's toneless for one thing. It's not 过. 来过. I guess that would also be a possible sequence. 这家 to this one. YK and a Y before that. BYYK. That's 2, 1. Not available. 这 now 家 has a J shape on top. M. These two strokes are an S. HH is omitted. O on the outside. JMSO.
你来过这家商店吗？
这家商店 store of commerce. This shang has an interesting, the character has an interesting origin. For meaning, it corresponds with that kaupo of Latin we talked about recently. Shang. There we go. That's an interlacing of yin, speech element, speech character, with something else. I forget what. Glyph origin is what we want. Traditionally considered that Shangren didn't tell me about the character so much. So, turn to my trusty old Carlgren dictionary, the one I gave you a copy of. Levi. Yeah. This one's just phonetically ordered, although that's not part of a series. So it's kept under radical 30, the mouth. That's where it's sorted. $8.59. Okay, so Carlgren says that in the Seal script about 2,000 years ago, this shang, which is YCB, or maybe it's YB, CR. Oh, got rid of too much there. YBCR. Gotta enter the right one. YCBR. That's it. 2 characters recalled with that string. This one comes, he says, from an interlacing of YMMR yen with nei, which is OB. You can kind of see that still in the enclosure of this one and the mouth at the bottom of this one. They're both still recognizable. So is the top of yen, although it's a different Y variant. And it means discuss, deliberate, trade, merchant, and a proper name. Meaning, yeah. The I contains ya and yo. The tree looks like little cha. Shan characters a wailing face. Haro. Yeah, it does kind of. I've heard, I haven't observed it myself in the wild, so to speak, but that this character, BCR, is used as an emoji for a woeful face. What was your word? Wailing. Oh, maybe not that one, but Jiong with a W? CR? No, I guess not. It's that, BCR. Which is really that part that you pointed out. The wailing face would include the B enclosure too, right? On the bottom.
你来过这家商店吗？
Shen and Dian. So it's a I enclosure. Dian is YR. Ma. Have you come here before? the question marking ma. RSQF, abbreviated now with these 3 strokes.
你来过这家商店吗？
你来过这家商店吗？你来过这 I left out. Have you been to the shop?
你去过他的家吗？
Have you gone? Hello, Yusuf. Woke up 3 minutes ago from a nightmare. Sorry to hear that. What language or languages are you most interested in? 去过他的家吗？ Have you gone? Have you been to his house? Arabic and German. Ah, fascinating. We were just doing a bit of Arabic. Since I rarely do German, and since Levi's also keenly interested in that language, let's do that next.
我们一起去吃午饭吧。
Okay. Don't mean to pry, of course, but I'm happy to hear if you'd like to tell.
我们一起去吃午饭吧。
我们一起去吃午饭吧. Another series of verbs.
起，
Unless we go,
起，
unless we regard 一起 as a verbal thing. Don't know. We together go eat lunch. Let's do it. Let's go have lunch together.
下个星期我们一起看电影吧。
下个星期我们一起看电影吧. Let's go see a movie together next week. Downward,
下，
spatially, when transferred to the time metaphor, means later in time, just as we write top to bottom or used to write traditionally. 下个星期我们一起去看电影吧. Let's go see a movie 一起 together. So it's interesting, it would sound bad in English to say, let's go see a movie next week together. Dream a lot, so the first second was, I was in the nightmare, I knew I was in a nightmare. Kind of nerfed me. Interesting. Next week, I left out.
你们看过那本书吗？
So kan can mean look at, watch, but here, because of the object, the book, we'll say read. 看过 means do you have the experience of doing it? Have you done it? Have you read 那本书 that book? Answer the question.
不好意思，我需要去洗手间。
不好意思 sorry, I'm embarrassed. 我需要去洗手间. 洗手间 or 间.
不好意思，我需要去洗手间。
Think to make it harder for me that and have fright of not seeing in a scary situation. Yeah, that does sound upsetting. 我需要 two-syllable verb, I need, and then the complement is also verbal 去. Seem to have lost my motivation for studying foreign language. I thought that country would have opportunities for me, but it seems like nobody has what I want to offer. Oh, that's too bad. Which I can't. So, if you can't offer it, is it meaningful to say that you have it to offer? Sorry to hear that you lost your motivation, though. Don't know that I have much advice about that. Perhaps Levi does. How to get your motivation back. To me, like to most people, I think the reason they learn a language is because they have certain people that they want to converse with and interact with in that language. To the extent it's a choice. If you're a child, you just choose it. It's not a question of motivation. You just learn it. You don't choose it. And for most people, I think it's about specific people, or maybe the idea, the appeal of a certain place is very strong, and so it's a means to an end. But I really just enjoy the structure of all and any language I come across. And I can't recall a time in my life when I didn't feel that. So I've never lost that part of the motivation. I want to offer something nobody wants anymore. I see, that makes sense. I'm not qualified. But then I must raise the same objection. Then are you able to offer it? I just think very nitpicky about words. It's kind of what I am here to do. What 我需要去. So within this noun here, 洗手间.
不好意思，我需要去洗手间。
洗手间 sounds first tone. This character is read both ways, depending on the word it's in. We've got a verb at the beginning of this noun, though, to wash hands, room. But it's not a verb in this sentence. This 洗 to wash. 去 is a verb, to go to that place, go to the bathroom. And then before that, 需要. Commodore. Get your motivation back is one way to get your motivation. Showing off what you learned, even if it's 3 words. Find a person. Could be. So go to the bathroom and need to go. Sorry, I need to go to the wash hands room, meaning the bathroom.
那家医院不好，不要去。
It's a complex sentence, more than one bit. 那家医院 is the topic. That hospital. 不好 is not good. "不要去 can mean, it looks like it means I don't want to go, but 不要 taken as a single word can mean don't, telling a person not to do a thing. Don't go, we would probably say don't go there. Do not go is more close. It leaves out the there part.
不好意思，我明天没有时间。
不好意思，我明天没有时间。I don't have time tomorrow.
你来过这家商店吗？
你来过这家商店吗？
你
来过。
来过。
So on its own, it's 4th tone, but not as the suffix. Japanese, high-end, dedicated consumer electronics. Oh, sounds like a fascinating idea.
你来过这家商店吗？这家商店吗？
下个星期我们一起看电影吧。
下个星期我们一起看电影吧。Next week. The ba means we'll put a let's here. So in English we use a verb or a verbal expression, not in Chinese. Ba is not verbal. Let's go together go. Oh, actually it doesn't say go. Let's together watch a movie. So let's do a bit of the old Deutsch. Das Obst.
Das Obst.
Some speakers have short, some long. Obst, Obst.
Die Banane, der Saft.
Das Obst.
Listen for the different length vowels here.
Die Banane.
Banane.
Das Obst. Die Banane. Die Orange.
Orange is one way to say it, with an eng, with a velar nasal. Or you could have it more closely modeled on modern French, orange, with a nasal vowel.
Die Banane.
Ist eine Banane.
Sounds the same as saying he is a banana. The spelling distinguishes he's eating a banana. So the common saying, we have it in English too, you are what you eat. German, we use a neutral or an indefinite pronoun. Put it in the third person. So you get these nice homophonous verbs. It becomes kind of significant that they sound alike. Man ist, was man isst. You are what you eat. And as in English too, we can, when we have this clausal thing beginning with a question word, that's a noun phrase to my view. Man is just an indefinite pronoun. Whoever, one person, we, one. One is that which one eats. Der Saft.
Der Saft.
Die Orange.
Die Orange.
Good afternoon. How are you? Good afternoon. I wouldn't say Nachmittag in a greeting. And then any proper or any true noun will capitalize good day. Accusative. Guten Tag. Wie geht's? Geht es?
Ich trinke Orangensaft.
Means how goes it? Ich trinke Orangensaft. I hear a lot of polyglots aren't fluent in more than one language. They seem to have a fondness for the self-contradictory utterance. Because... Oh, aren't fluent, just that they know it. Okay. To me, a polyglot means a speaker of... But I guess it doesn't mean fluent, yeah. It's hard to be really fluent in... Well, the more languages there, the harder. Ich trinke Orangensaft. I drink OJ. Gambatte.
Ihr esst Obst.
Ihr esst Obst. It's you plural. Eat fruit.
Wir essen Obst.
We eat fruit. Wir essen Obst. Essen.
Sie trinkt Apfelsaft.
And note, they speak a lot of languages at a beginner level, that the single letter S in the beginning of a syllable will be a Z voiced sound. Sie trinkt Apfelsaft.
Apfelsaft.
Not a Saft, not Sie. Sie trinkt Apfelsaft. She drinks apple juice.
Der Apfelsaft.
Die apple juice.
Ich trinke Apfelsaft.
Drink apple juice.
Ich trink Apfelsaft.
Das ist eine Orange.
It is an orange. That is an orange.
Der Saft.
Der Saft ist gut.
Juice is good. Der Saft ist gut.
Das Mädchen trinkt Orangensaft.
Das
Mädchen.
The girl drinks orange juice. Probably does.
Das ist eine Orange.
That is an orange.
بيتك غريب جدا يا مايك. بيتك غريب جدا يا مايك.
So the at the end introduces, or it's turning to the addressee. Beitek, your house.
بيتك غريب جدا يا مايك.
That's the subject. Your house. غريب is weird. جدا, very. Your house is very weird, Mike. We write 4 letters here. M-A-I-K, Mike.
جارك عمر دكتور يا زيد.
جارك, your neighbor. Omar, that's the subject. What's it? دكتور يز. What's that? زيد.
جارك عمر دكتور يا زيد يا زيد.
زيد.
جارك عمر دكتور يا زيد.
Your neighbor. Omar is a doctor. Zaid. So word order is quite different from English. Well, the subject comes first, that's shared. Neighbor of yours. The your meaning is there in the suffix. Okay. Omr is his name. So that part, your neighbor George. We don't say, oh, we do in English. We can say George, your neighbor. We can't say your George neighbor. Duktur is the predicate. There's no verb meaning be. It's understood.
جراجك ممتاز يا سامية.
It's interesting they use the Persian letter g to write garage.
جراجك ممتاز يا سامية.
Mumtaz is the predicate. Your garage is amazing. Yeah, Samia, turning to you and leaving you.
جراجك ممتاز يا بوب.
This one too looks like two words because of the
Garajek.
ender. Ends of the flow. Garajek, your garage. Mumtaz is amazing. Yeah, bub.
جارك عمر مترجم يا مها.
جارك عمر مترجم يا مها. Your neighbor Omar is a translator. Maha is a name.
جارك عمر دكتور ممتاز ومهم يا رانيا. جارك عمر دكتور ممتاز ومهم يا رانيا.
ومهم. Well, we'll get to that.
جارك عمر دكتور ممتاز ومهم يا رانيا. جارك عمر. جارك عمر دكتور ممتاز ومهم يا رانيا. دكتور ممتاز ومهم. جارك عمر دكتور ممتاز ومهم يا رانيا.
مهم is important.
يا رانيا.
رانيا. Oh, it's conjoining two adjectives modifying doctor. Your neighbor Omar, subject. Jarik Omar. Predicate is Doktor, and he's both Mumtaz ومهم and important. He's both amazing and important. Okay, muhimma feminine, muhim.
بيتي بيتك يا سامية.
بيتي بيتك. Mikasa is sukasa.
بيتي بيتك يا سامية.
Same noun, beit. Beiti means my house. There's no verb, but it means is your house. Beitik. يا سامية.
جاكيتك ممتاز يا سام.
جاكيتك.
جاكيتك ممتاز يا سام. جاكيتك.
Okay, this one has a long e vowel, which is not an Arabic vowel. Jacket. So it's now progressed to a 5 vowel stage, it seems.
جاكيتك ممتاز يا سام.
Your jacket is amazing, Sam.
جراجك ممتاز وبيتك كبير يا بوب.
جراجك ممتاز وبيتك كبير يا بوب. Your garage is amazing. وبيتك كبير, and your house is big. يا بوب.
بيتك جديد يا مايك.
بيتك, your house. جديد is new.
جاكيتك كبير يا سام.
جاكيتك كبير يا سام.
جاكيتك كبير يا سام.
جاكيتك كبير. Big كبير. Case suffix. Yes. Second person possessive. That is it. Beiti. My house. Is it Beitek, I believe? Your house.
جارك عمر دكتور ممتاز يا رانيا.
Jarik. Okay, so it's definitely right. Jarik, your neighbor. Boyer.
جارك عمر دكتور ممتاز يا رانيا.
Your neighbor Omar. Dr. Mumtaz Ya Rania is an amazing doctor. Rania. Alright, let's do a Hebrew next, and then call it a night.
جراجك جميل وجديد يا سامية.
Jamil is beautiful. وجديد and new Samia. Garajek, your garage. Jadid. Jamil is beautiful. وجديد and new Samia.
جارك عمر مترجم سريع يا مايك.
جارك عمر مترجم سريع.
سريع.
The fast translator.
عمر.
مترجم, a fast translator. Jarik, your neighbor Omar is a fast translator. Mike.
جارك عمر مترجم يا رواد.
Jarik Omar, your neighbor Omar مترجم يا رواد.
بيتك كبير يا رانيا.
بيتك كبير يا رانيا. Your house is big.
جراجك جديد يا سامية.
جراجك جديد يا سامية. Your garajik جديد is new. سامية.
جاكيتك كبير يا سام.
Your jacket is big, Sam.
جارك عمر مترجم سريع يا مايك.
جارك عمر مترجم سريع يا مايك.
جارك عمر مترجم سريع يا مايك.
Your neighbor Omar is a translator. Yeah, Mike.
جارك عمر مترجم سريع يا مايك. جارك عمر مترجم سريع يا مايك.
مترجم سريع. It's a fast translator. Okay. Last lesson for the evening. That is the Hebrew. Okay, looks like possessives is just 5 units away.
עוגה טעימה.
Uga te'ima. Cake is delicious. Cake, a tasty cake.
עוגה טעימה. עוגה טעימה. הגבר רואה אישה יפה.
הגבר, the man, רואה, he sees. האישה,
הגבר רואה אישה יפה.
אישה יפה. Beautiful one.
עוגה טעימה. היא טעימה. עוגה טעימה. היא טעימה.
עוגה טעימה.
עוגה טעימה. היא טעימה.
היא טעימה. טעימה. The tasty cake is tasty. He. So he seems to sort of be on the boundary of being a pronoun and a verb.
האוכל טעים.
אוכל, the food. טעים is tasty.
האוכל טעים.
טעים. Doesn't sound like a glottal stop. I think it could be the ayin letter. Ta'im. But I think it's just ta'im, sequence of vowels.
הן טעימות.
Hin. Te'imot. Feminine plural, they are tasty.
אנחנו יפות.
אנחנו yefot. They do pronominal copula instead of verb copula. It's a pronopula. אנחנו, we, yefot, are beautiful children.
הם גברים יפים.
הם גברים יפים. They are handsome men.
הגבר אוכל תפוז יפה.
הגבר, the man, אוכל, is eating. תפוז יפה, a beautiful orange. Believe me.
הן יפות וטעימות.
Okay, it's interesting that there's different markers, but the N in hen and ot in the other two words are feminine plural markers. Hen, yefot, veteimat. They're beautiful and tasty. Pretty and tasty.
הם טעימים.
Hen teimim. Hem teimim. They are tasty.
האוכל טעים.
האוכל, the food. Ta'im is tasty.
האם הן טעימות?
Im, hen, teimot, are they? Okay, who, he, ha'im might be related.
ילדים יפים.
Yeladim yafim. Beautiful children.
היא קוראת ספר יפה.
Koret. What's this one here? Read. Koret. Oh, think of Qur'an. Qur'an.
היא קוראת ספר יפה.
Maybe. Could be a coincidence. Read Sefer Yefe. He means she is reading a pretty book, a nice book.
ילדה יפה.
Yilda, singular female, the girl, or a girl. Yefa, pretty one.
האוכל טעים.
Ukhil ta'im, the food is tasty. Okay, everyone. Thanks very much for watching, for joining me. Please give me a follow, and I will see you next time. Have a good night.